And we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Nightmare on Elm Street movie review. I'm here with Arlo, and tonight our special guest is classic Chris. I'm pretty sure you guys recognize him from the Bruce Blitz reviews, and he has his channel at Classic Chris, and he's an announcer for Crossfire Wrestling, if I got that right.
Yeah.
He's a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan, so I figured it'll be appropriate to invite him for these reviews to get his take on the movies. Tonight we're going to review Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child. This movie came out exactly 1 year after Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master, which was a major hit. So, of course, New Line Cinema said, oh shit, we gotta make a sequel. And this came out a year after. Lisa Wilcox comes back as Alice. The man, Robert Englund, comes back as Freddy. And the dude who played Dan comes back as Dan. And I was definitely looking forward to this because I love Part 4. And I thought this is going to be the Part 5 definitely had it definitely had a tough act to follow. But like, how can I do better than Part 4? Because like, I love the energy Part 4 had, the imagination. I love the Alice character, how she became this shy, nerdy girl into basically a warrior. And Robert Englund was great. How they're going to follow this up. So I was definitely looking forward to this. And Arlo, after Arlo, then Chris. Arlo and Chris, tell me what were your guys' thoughts heading into the movie?
Not too high.
Okay, Chris.
Well, with me, I loved number 4, so I was really excited for number 5, to be honest, because I grew up like when this movie came out in theaters.
Mhm. And before we get this review started, let's get Chris's quick thoughts. Like give your quick thoughts on of the first 4 films thus far.
Well, in my opinion, like the first movie is just pure gold. The way Wes Craven got that horror aspect, he really went into a dark place with creating a character like Freddy Krueger, because in my opinion, nothing is more evil than a guy that is a child murderer. Because like that's what made Freddy so evil, and just how crazy he was, and we didn't even really know the whole fact until like basically near the end of the first movie. And I love how they did that, like where you got the character development, like you got Nancy and her crew basically discussing their nightmares, and we really didn't see Freddy until he did like really his first kill, and it was, to me, that was just really awesome. Like just how well the first movie was, it was great. Like how everything went together. The second movie, there are some ups and downs. I will say there are some parts about number 2 I did not like, but there's a lot of things I did like. Like when Freddy came out of Jesse's body, the whole fact of him coming into the real world, that was awesome. When he's at that party and he basically says, "You're all my children now," and he just basically kills people left and right. Like that was ruthless, and to me, that's like how a horror movie guy should be. Like Freddy is ruthless. And like that's what I really liked about number 2. Like there's some down things, but there's a lot of positives too. But to me, number 3 was my favorite one of them all, because that movie literally scarred me as a kid growing up, because that was the first horror movie I saw, and I just loved how in number 3, Freddy took over control of that house, because that house was Nancy's house. It was the first time Freddy literally owned the house in the dream world and everything like that. Like how they actually showed the dream world basically as a different place compared to the real world. Like in the first movie, where when they were in the dream world, it was basically the exact same scenery as when they went to bed. But in number 3, that's the first time where Patricia Arquette, she falls asleep. She in her dream, she's in front of Nancy's old house and everything like that. You have the kids jumping rope, and it was just phenomenal. And then you got number 4, where they took where they took characters from number 3 and put them right into number 4, which I would love. Like getting the exact same characters back is huge. Like Kincaid, that guy is one of my favorite actors in those movies. He is just awesome. He basically, his one-liners can rank up there with Freddy. That's how good he is in those movies. Like just everything, like how like number 3 coincides with number 4, then how number 4 coincides, like how it goes with number 5. I freaking enjoyed how they did all that. Like to me, like I know number 5 was rushed, but I think there's some good points to it, and I hope to I was going to speak those points, and hopefully people watch number 5 again and be like, hey, you know what? It's actually not that bad. At least it's better than number 6.
Well, yeah. We'll get to number 6 when we get to it.
But I really enjoyed the first 4 movies. I will say that.
Yes, indeedy. All right, so let's get on with the review. All right, so now the movie starts out when it's basically insinuated that Alice and Dan are having sex. Okay, that's nice to see. And they're having sex as the opening credits goes. And Alice decides to take a shower. Now, as she's taking a shower, she sees herself in a strange asylum. And as you can see from the get-go, that the movie it wants to get more of a dark mood, kind of like in the first film, which I was like, okay, all right, I can kind of dig this. So we see Alice like walking down an extremely long hallway, and then as she walks, she's find out she's in a nun's outfit with the name tag saying Amanda Kruger. Now, the last time we saw Amanda Kruger was in part 3 when she was assisting the doctor, and then we told about Freddy's origin, about he's the bastard son of 100 maniacs. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna see Amanda Kruger in this film. And then she goes into the asylum, and then she's surrounded by literally 100 maniacs, because Amanda Kruger said basically in the very bowels of the asylum were the most insane of the insane, like the craziest of the crazies, pretty much. And then while she's basically surrounded by these 100 maniacs, we actually spot Robert Englund as a part of this group. So I'm like, okay, it's cool to see Robert Englund in there, because Robert Englund, he kind of does that in Night about Elm Street films where he himself will just show up out of nowhere. He did it in part 2 when he was the school bus driver. He did it in part 4 when he posed as a nurse. So once I saw him, I was like, this is a nightmare situation. I could just tell. So when Alice realizes that she's about to be trapped in there, she tries to leave, but the door locks. And when the door locks, she's like looking around, and she sees all the 100 maniacs just staring at her, and you see like just Robert Englund in there as well. And then basically, how the story goes. She gets attacked by the 100 maniacs, and then she wakes up. She wakes up, and she sees, and then we see Robert Englund himself in the bed with Nancy, and he's like holding her down whatsoever, but then it's just another nightmare. So, like, okay, this is a very interesting start to the film. And Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they always give us like good starts to the film. So then after that, the next day, Alice is graduating from high school. She has a new group of friends. One of her friends is Greta, who is basically an aspiring supermodel. And then we meet Mark, who's a comic book geek. And the Mark character I fucking hated because Well, he's like eating on like a big ass lollipop and all that stuff, and then I'm like, I'm already not gonna like fucking like this guy. Uh, and then we meet Yvonne, who we later learn is a swimmer and is a hospital volunteer. She's played by, I've seen this woman before. She's played by I want to get her name right.
She was in People Under the Stairs as well.
People Under the Stairs. Yeah, Kelly Joel Minter. She was in People Under the Stairs. I saw her in House Party too. She was making out with Play at House Party too. I was like, oh, she's in here. And then they're celebrating graduation. Then Mark offers Greta a lollipop, and then the mother just pops out of nowhere. Greta, that's not what a supermodel would eat, and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, fuck, okay, she's a supermodel, and then the mother trying to force her into, okay, fuck, whatever. And the Mark character, I'm like, okay, fuck him. As soon as I saw him lick that big ass lollipop, I'm like, fuck him. And then we also, know Dan, who was in the fourth film. He's graduated as well. And then he talks to Alice about taking a trip to Europe for their after their graduation. And then she also kind of tells Dan about her nightmares that she's been having, and tell her she is all in control of her dreams. And let's not forget, she is the Dream Master, after all. She's the one that ultimately defeated Freddy. And then we also meet Alice's father, who the last time we saw him, he was basically a fucking drunken jerk in the first film. But he could tell, he's sobered up, he's cleaned himself up, going to AA meetings. So it's cool to see him. And then after the next scene, she makes out with Dan, and then she heads into work. So Arlo, Chris, we meet. It's nice seeing Lisa Wilcox again as Alice, my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street character. And from what it looks like, they're going to include Freddy's mother into this as well. Now, Arlo, I remember you told me off there a couple nights ago that you necessarily do not like the mother and the Son of a Hundred Maniacs thing. You think that really isn't necessary for a type of movie like this? It's best to kind of keep Freddy as like a mythical creature. So we're gonna get the inclusion of Amanda Kruger coming back. Then we get to meet the new cast of characters, which I'm not the biggest fan of. And Arlo and Chris, your thoughts on the opening scenes of the movies?
Surprisingly, I actually liked it. I mean, that's the one thing about the series that I'll give it credit for. Some of the parts weren't that great. I mean, this franchise, but one thing consistently about it is the openings have been really good. I mean, I particularly don't like the whole 100 Maniac Genesis for Freddy and stuff, because you really don't need that in this kind of movie, because what he was we already knew, just a man that attacks children, kills children and stuff, and they burned him, and that's how that happened. That was more than enough, but we didn't need that. But if they're going to give it to us, I liked how they did it in this part with Robert Englund in this as well. But yeah, like the whole new characters, I'm not really crazy about them. I like Greta; she looks nice, and that's about it in terms of the characters. The other ones are just pretty forgettable, but I like that they had the real actor and actress back in here, because a lot of times you just see them getting like replaced. But I like that, especially with the quick turnaround. They kept the actors and the actresses. Chris?
Oh, exactly. Like I really like how number 5 continued with the direct sequel approach that they did with number 4 and with 3 to 4. I really like how they did that with number 5, like bringing back a lot of the original actors, like getting back Lisa Wilcox, getting Dan back. And in my opinion, Lisa freaking looked hot in this movie too, compared to how she looked in number 4. And
Yeah.
I really like how like the characters have grown too. Like how Alice's dad is not as like how he's sober now. He's going to AA meetings and everything like that. Um, it's really cool to see how like they actually took the last movie and expanded on that. And a lot of sequels don't do that nowadays. Or not, even back then they didn't. Some of the movies that did that originally were Friday the 13th, where they keep some of the original actors and they be killed off right away or something like that. But I like how they did that with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. And the crazy thing with Nightmare 5 is that Nightmare 4 finished up its production in July of 1988, and here we are in April 1989, and they're already doing number 5. Like, so that script was kind of rushed and everything, but for how they did everything, I kind of like it. Like the opening scene with Alice and Dan, like everyone knows that they've been together and what they've been through. So just the fact that Alice still has these dreams, it's kind of like Kirsten at the beginning of Part 4, how she was still dreaming of Freddy going back in the house, and Kincaid and Joey are like, do you realize if you keep going here, you might stir him back up? And the fact that Alice wasn't in full control of her dream at the beginning of the movie, that's cool. Like, it seems that because she still has the fear, and back in Part 1, that's how Freddy in Part 1 and Part 2, that's how Freddy got his strength, was from your fear, like your fear of him. And he didn't start taking the souls of the children to give him strength until number 3. So the fact that like originally to get Freddy back, to get his strength up, like to get back in the movies, was Alice still being afraid of Freddy, and still he was still somewhere in the back of his mind, which I really like how they did that. And the fact that what they did with the Amanda Kruger thing, I kind of like that, because it shows you how crazy the situation that she went through to solidify how psycho her kid was going to be. And I kind of like that, like how James mentioned earlier, how they were going back to the darker aspect from the first movie, because number 4 had more of a comedic aspect, like with a lot of the things like Rick passing out while he's taking a dump. Like, to me, that was friggin' hilarious. Like, I'm sorry, but I've been relaxed taking a dump, never that relaxed. Like, I'm sorry, but just how they did it, like they went with more of a darker aspect, because Alice did a lot of daydreaming in the 4th movie, like when like even at Rick's funeral, when he's like, "Hello, baby," and he's like just stuff like that. Like, it was more comedic. But number 5, like that movie, it was trying to get darker and a little bit scarier. Yes, it has spoiler alert, like, yes, it has less kills than all the other movies, but they warranted trying to build on the storyline and everything, on how Freddy is this crazy and how dark this movie is going to take. But I really like it. The comic book nerd, that guy, he speaks to me because I am a comic book nerd. And back in the day, I used to eat the huge lollipops because I was a sugar fiend. So if I'm going to have a lollipop, it's going to last a while. Same with like the freezes. I get the huge jumbo ones because fuck it, I'm a kid. Sugar equals energy. And
you have hair like that too?
No. I wish. I hate to say, but I had the mushroom cut back then. Almost like the bowl cut, because like don't forget, like, I'm in my 30s, so back in '89, like, I was still a kid. Like, I got to see this movie in a theater, pure luck, because my cousin was working at the theater, and he knew how much of a Nightmare on Elm Street fan I was. He snuck me in. Like, I got to sneak in and see this, and I was so underage for a rated R movie, which was awesome. And that could be like an extra thing why this movie holds a certain place in my heart, probably. But I really enjoyed how they opened it.
Mushroom cut. Wow.
Hey, I had hair at one point, guys.
No way.
Well, I will say, like, I think in 1990, I think I almost had the Vanilla Ice haircut at one point.
That's good. That's popular back in the day.
Yeah, but I didn't wear the parachute pants. No way. Those look way too ridiculous.
That pulls all together.
But I liked how they started the film, though.
Yeah, it was a good start. All right, so Alice is going into work, and then she meets these, like, once again, them creepy ass little girls. You know, with the 1, 2, for Tell 'em for You song. I mean, every time I see them, they just creep me out. I don't know why, but they just do. And so Then while on her way to work, she finds herself back at the asylum because she finds Amanda Kruger, and then she chases her up into the asylum. Now, while she's searching for Amanda Kruger, she witnesses Amanda. First it's Alice on the table, and then it kind of like transitions into like Amanda, which kind of confused me a little bit. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we see Amanda giving birth, and the doctor saying that it's backwards. You're gonna have to like turn it around and stuff. And then we meet the Freddy baby. Now I kind of thought this was kind of stupid. I'm like, Freddy baby, really? And the look of the Freddy baby looked like shit, personally.
That shit was funny though.
It was funny, but it was silly to me. Like, a Freddy baby, really?
Yeah.
So Amanda tries to collect it before it escapes, but it gets out to the operating room, and Alice follows it into the same church that she, had defeated Freddy in the previous film. So the baby Freddy, that sounds so ridiculous. It kind of reminded me of Jason. It kind of reminded me of Jason Goes to Hell when Demon Jason, got out of that cop's neck, and I'm like,
oh
really?
yeah.
Like, really? Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So she finds, the Freddy baby, and she finds Freddy's remains. Alice tries to stop it, and the way how they got Freddy back, it was whatever to me. I mean, they did a pretty, to me, it was a pretty stupid way how they got Freddy back in the fourth film. I mean, the dog pissed on his remains, came back alive. Now, infant Freddy brings him back to life. I'm like, oh, whatever.
But how funny is it that the dog that pissed fire was named Jason?
His name was Jason. I saw that in the last review, which is very ironic. And then in Freddy vs. Jason, Freddy brings Jason back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the last movie though, how like his body and the bones and everything came together, I thought that was pretty cool.
Now that was cool. Yeah. This movie, like, the altar, like, rises and whatsoever. I didn't really... I'm like, oh, okay, it's whatever. Then, we see, Freddy coming up, and, he's saying, it's a boy! And I'm like, it's a boy? I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, spoiler alert, Freddy's one-liners, compared to 1, 2, and 3, and 4, Robert Englund wasn't on his game in this film. I'll just say that for starters.
Soul food. What?
That was funny. I love soul food.
Well, the thing was, at first, Robert Englund wasn't really happy with the script, and then he like sunk his teeth into it, and he's like, okay, there's actually some parts that he actually got into. Like, he actually had to warm up to the storyline, and that's not something that Robert Englund should have to do. He should like the script going into it.
True.
I didn't know that.
That's the problem with the rush. That they rushed it.
No, that also speaks to Robert Englund's genius. I mean, because a lot of his one-liners in these films were off the cuff.
Yes.
And so after saying it's a boy, Amanda, before he hints that he's found the key to coming back. And then Amanda approaches, saying that I knew you was a cursed baby. You took my life. Now I'm going to take yours. And Freddy goes, we'll see, bitch. We'll see. And, but Freddy closes the door on Amanda. And then Alice runs out, and Alice emerges at the diner that she still works in, but she finds out she's 4 hours late. Which I'm like, damn, she's so gonna get fired. So of course our coworker is pissed off at her, which is understandably so. We all would be. And then she, Dan, who's at a pool party, with Greta and
the other two clowns, for lack of better words.
Yeah, the other two clowns. We learned that that Mark, he doesn't like blood and whatsoever. I'm like, what a pussy. And but he'll draw bloody, gory stuff in his comics. And Greta even points that out. And then Alice calls Dan, and Dan rushes to join Alice. So we get the resurrection of Freddy, which I was like, I kind of thought this was probably Freddy's dumbest way of coming back. I mean, you need a Freddy baby, and from what it looks like, Amanda is going to be very crucial to the plot here. And also, I'm not the biggest fan of Freddy's makeup in this. He does not look right in this film to me. Compared to Part 4, Part 3, and 2 and 1, this may be my least favorite Freddy to look at. I don't know. But, so yeah, Arlo and Chris, your thoughts on Freddy coming back?
I personally didn't really like it. I didn't like the fact that he was the baby and then him squirting out and running away. Just didn't make any sense. I'm like, well, the little reality that it had is all out the window. So yeah, not a huge fan of him coming back like that, but they got to bring him back some way, and this was the way.
I love the squirting him out line. That's funny. Sorry to interrupt. That made me laugh, man. Sorry to interrupt.
No pun intended, but yeah, it was all right.
Well, to me, this whole the origin of Freddy. Well, after Alice defeated Freddy in Part 4, he lost all the power that he had accumulated for the first 3 movies. Like, he lost, or the first 4 movies, like, he lost all the souls, like, all the fear was gone, basically. So the only way that Freddy can come back was to be reborn, in my opinion. That's the only reason why they did the squirting baby. The baby squirting. But, like, that's the only thing that I can think to make it, like, to give it some justice, like, almost like why they went with that mentality of, like, the dream child and everything like that, was because Alice literally took away every last inch of power he had when he lost all the souls, when they ripped him to shreds at the end of number 4. So I'm actually, like, I'm a little biased because I love the Nightmare movies, so that I'm trying to, I guess I'm an enabler because I found the good in that, because he had no power to come back, so the only way to come back was literally to be reborn in the dream world.
Agreed. Again, I don't know. Either him getting peed on or him being reborn. Which one sounds more? I kind of liked it better. Yeah, I can see your point, but I kind of liked it better when Freddy just came back. Because again, it wasn't explained how Freddy came back in 2. Doesn't explain how he came back in 3. But I guess it's okay.
My theory with number 2 was that after Nancy took away all of his power, that he was entrapped in the house. And that's why when Jesse and his family moved in, it stirred him back up, because he had a teenager to go off of.
Good point. I never thought about that.
I'm a nightmare nerd.
Arlo, please don't.
Jesse.
There's no Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse's my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street character.
For the wrong reasons.
For the right reasons.
Yeah, sure. There's something inside me that needs to come out. Wow.
If a guy said that to a girl, he'd get slapped.
Yeah, twerking and closing your shelf too.
Oh, please don't
Pretty
remind me of
amazing.
that. Don't remind me of that. You've seen the scene of Jesse cleaning his room, right, Chris?
Oh yes, where he's using that little thing that shoots out like near his cock when he's like gyrating or like
Yeah.
pelvic thrusting. I mean, and then
Yeah.
that's when Lisa shows up and is like, "What the hell are you doing?" Or whatever the hell her name was. Was it Lisa? I don't remember.
Yeah, I forgot, but yeah.
Sounds funny.
Yeah,
that
like
that was an
awkward
entertaining
moment, eh?
scene.
Like talk about awkward moments.
And in the
Well,
music he was listening to, like, what the fuck? But
I blame the director
yeah,
for
pretty
that
sure.
one, or the music guy,
Yeah.
whoever picked it.
yeah, he says that he didn't try to add any gay overtones. Bullshit. But
That's the biggest lie I've ever heard.
but but anyway, back to review. So Dan, who looks like Eli Manning's stunt double, is
He doesn't look retarded though. What?
what's that?
He doesn't look like he has Down syndrome like Eli Manning does though.
Good point. Dan is driving in his truck, and Chris, I mean, hope maybe you remember this, but he hears his mom on the radio. What does the mom say?
Oh, she was ripping on Alice. Like she was
Yeah.
literally ripping on Alice. Um, it was basically like a sports talk almost or something like that. It seemed like
Yeah.
she's like, I think she called her a slut or something like that. My
Yeah.
son, if he get his mind off that slut Alice or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, and and then Dan's like, well, first of all, Dan is like clumsily he like kind of like dozes off while driving, and I'm like, well, you deserve to die,
Mm-hmm.
and then he hears his mom, and then of course Freddy appears, in the in the truck, drinking the champagne he planned on buying for drinking with Alice, and then Freddy's like in the passenger seat drinking the champagne, and spitting out the champagne, and the champagne turning into acid and shit, and he's like, like put your pedal to the metal, Dan,
Yeah.
and
He used his glove hand as his seatbelt.
yeah, something like that, and I'm like, yeah, like I mean, normally when Freddy kills somebody, he does one. It's funny. I wasn't really laughing here. So Dan crashed into the same exact pool gymnasium that he was in, and then he tries to get back into his truck, but he finds a motorcycle. And no, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like Dan's death scene, where Dan, to make it longer, basically turned into a little speed demon with the motorcycle. Like his skin's melting off and shit. But apparently there was more to this death scene. But Arlo, our good friend at MPAA, censored the death scene, of course. Yeah, Chris. During our Friday the 13th movie review, some of the movies MPAA completely censored the hell out of the Friday the 13th movies, and it pissed me off. So they got their grubby little hands on this movie as well. And apparently there was more to Dan's death scene, but what we got was what we got. And so after Dan dies, Freddy makes the bike crash into a vehicle, and then Alice hears the crash, rushes to see Dan's body, and then it comes to life, in Freddy's voice saying, "Hey Alice, let's make a baby," and then this causes Alice to faint. And then for the next scene, Alice wakes up being treated for shock. And then she learns that, Freddy, that Dan's dead. And Kelly Joel Mentor's character, Yvonne, the doctor tells her that these are normal symptoms and whatsoever. And then Alice trying to figure out, like, what's going on? What is he talking about? And then she says, Yvonne, what's wrong with me? And Yvonne says, oh, no, there's nothing wrong except you're kind of pregnant. And then I'm like, I've never heard kind of pregnant before in my life. Either you are or you're not. So when she said kind of pregnant, I'm like, just say she's pregnant. There's no kinda.
It's either you are or you aren't. It's like going to Paris. You ever been there or you haven't?
Right, like I've kind of been to Paris. Like, who kind of goes there?
I kind of went there. I got like a Eiffel Tower statue, so I kind of went there.
I had French fries.
So I kind of went to Paris. Yeah.
Yeah, I dated a French girl. I kind of went there.
So then, after Alice learns she's pregnant with Dan's child, she meets this boy in the hallway, and then the boy says that your boyfriend got killed, and she goes, how do you know that? And she said, oh, I saw you upset, so I went to go check up on you, and then he just walks away. Then Alice goes, hey, little boy, come back. So I'm kind of like, where the fuck is this going? So Arlo, thoughts on Dan's death scene and Alice being preggo.
The death scene, I don't know, could have been better.
MPA
like
said
it was.
That's why it could have been better.
No, yeah, but I mean, you fell asleep while driving. It's kind of his fault. But like if anybody falls asleep driving, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna get in an accident and bad stuff's gonna happen. But yeah, it kind of deserved it to die. It sounded like he was just like sleeping and then he did that, but he was driving and hit something, and yeah. But I liked like when he was in the car and stuff. Then he got on the motorcycle, and then like basically his skin got like enthralled with the insect stuff from the previous movie as well, and it kind of looked like Ghost Rider for a second without being like on fire and stuff. But I thought that was cool. And then the pregnancy, yeah, you didn't need that at all, but you're gonna have one baby. You might as well have another one in the movie.
Well, I liked the whole scene, like how they did that, because with the way the like how the bike was going into him to make his flesh start coming off his hands and stuff, that was actually pretty freaking good special effects, because nowadays everyone's relying on CGI and stuff like that. So back then in 1989, that's pretty cutting edge technology that they had. The way they did a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street stuff, it like in my opinion, like these movies do not, like horror movies do not get enough credit for a lot of their special effects, especially the Nightmare on Elm Street series. Same with the Friday the 13th series. They don't get enough credit for their special effects, like seeing machetes going to people's heads, and Freddy, like this guy, like literally how he used some lines from the earlier in the show, like, or in the film, I mean, when his dad was with, I think it was with either his buddy or a football recruiter or something, like, this boy feels the need for speed, and how Freddy used that in everything. Like I love how Freddy just torments people and just fucks with their heads. Like, this guy is, if you look up psychotic in the dictionary, there should be a picture of Freddy Krueger right there, because that guy just literally, not only did he fuck with you mentally, but then he'd kill you. Like, he would literally just like, he had fun when he did this shit, and that to me is really psychotic. And I just love how these movies took that aspect of how crazy Freddy Krueger is. And honestly, like, when watching that, like, in the theaters as a kid, like, that I shouldn't even been in the theater to begin with, I was like, fuck, that is freaky. And I really wish I would have seen what they originally had planned for that, because if it was anything freakier than that, that would have been really cool. Like, I really wish on my DVD it had a deleted scene for that. But the whole thing with with the kid showing up and like while Alice is there and stuff, it's pretty crazy how much information that kid had. Like you know what I mean? Like, so, to me, like at this point, like this movie's like, oh, this is getting interesting. Like Dan was a big major player in the last movie, and yet he died within like the first half hour. Like not even the first half hour, but like what was it? Like the first 20 minutes it seemed, or something like that. But that was like pretty quick to kill him off. But it plays on to later on in the story, like how she's pregnant now and everything like that. So, in my opinion, it's interesting. Like I want, like I was watching it, like I wanted to see where this movie's going to go. James?
Yeah, very Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 like to kill off a character from the previous films. I was just hoping and praying Alice doesn't die. Yeah, because Nightmare on Elm Street, they just tend to do... the fast cult movies, they tend to do that. I mean, kill off Nancy, they kill off the Dream Warriors. Please don't kill Alice off in the process. She's made it this far. Hopefully it stays that way, because if she dies, I'll be pissed. But, so when she meets the little boy, and she tells Yvonne this, that she met this little kid, but Yvonne tells her that there's no children's ward at the hospital, nor were there any children on her floor. So I just thought, okay, is this Freddy, fucking with her again? Which, again, kind of doesn't make any sense because, like, I don't see how Freddy's still doing this. I mean, again, Alice is the Dream Master. So I'm like, how is Freddy still one-upping Alice here? This is what I first thought when I first saw this kid. So, and then, like, basically in any horror movie franchise, every single movie we have to know the origin of, of the serial killers. She tells her friends about Amanda Kruger, how she was raped by 100 maniacs. Freddy killed children, released on a technicality, and the family, family killed him. And then he kills people in the dreams. Yvonne, understandably so, is dismissive of it, while the others say that, still skeptical, say that whatever is after Alice will have to go through them first. I think Greta says, like, whatever is after you, supernatural or not, they're going to have to go through us first.
I just can't believe someone would be dumb enough to say that. I'm sorry, like, even in a movie, like, supernatural, Greta, how are you going to stop that?
She's gonna eat something and throw up on Freddy. What?
Oh, God, don't get me started on that. That was fucking ridiculous. But Alice, of course, she said that's what she's afraid of, that Freddy's gonna come after her. And then Alice starts crying in the kitchen until her father comes in, coming home from an AA meeting, and she says, "Oh, hey, Daddy, how was the meeting?" And then he said, "Sober." And she said, when did you start having such a smart mouth? The moment I learned that you was pregnant. And then Alice was like, you're not ashamed of me, are you? And then the father says, no, I'm not. Just don't. And I kind of hope it's a boy. It'd be nice to have a boy run around here. So it's kind of noticed that they kind of mention, Rick a little bit. And but he kind of says, just please, just don't make a habit out of this. So I like the father. I mean, the father, again, he was a complete dick in the fourth film, but he's better here. He's sober and he's understanding. He's understanding. He says, I'm not ashamed of you. Just don't make a habit out of this. I'm like, okay, I like the father. And then we meet Greta, with her parents, with her mom, a photographer, trying to talk her into it and trying to talk her into doing like a photo shoot, and Greta is she's just kind of like just dozing in and out. And then the mother is like, Greta, there is a great opportunity in your hands. Are you not going to say anything? And the Greta's like, excuse me, Mom, but my friend just died. Can I at least have a few hours to myself? And while she's dozing off, you don't necessarily see Robert Englund, but you could tell he's the fucking waiter. Again, every time I see him in a scene, I automatically think this is a fucking nightmare. Every time I see Robert Englund, it's a nightmare. You know, he's like, you know, with a little smug look on his face, so offering Greta food. And and she does, and she says she's not hungry. And then the mom goes, Greta, I think you should eat. And then it pisses Greta off, like, you always complain about my weight. I'll tell you what, how about I eat everything and then eat every goddamn thing and throw it up and then come back? How you like that? But then we get, in my opinion, the weakest death scene in the Nightmare on Elm Street films. This fucking death scene was so ridiculous. Okay, so he shows up in the dream as a waiter. He goes, bon appetit, bitch. And he kills her by forcing her to basically eat herself, pretty much. And she then chokes to death in front of the real party. Now, this is how ridiculous this looks. He's shoving food down her throat, and then her, and she's basically just her mouth is just full of food. And she's, standing up, acting like she's choking, because Freddy's, dancing with her. And I'm like, this death scene looks so fucking silly. Because, and here's another thing, too. MPAA fucked with this scene as well. Because originally, Freddy is stabbing her, thus, and shoving food down Greta's throat at the same time. So the food will come out of her stomach and stuff. But then, of course, MPAA was like, no, that's too violent. That's too violent. So it's just Freddy, putting at least 1-2 pieces of food down her throat, and all of a sudden she, her mouth is full.
That is a very good point.
Right. Yeah.
And then his one-liner is like, you are what you eat.
Yeah, you are what you eat.
And then he pulled away the little tray, and then he actually saw that she was getting fed herself, and it's like, I would have rather seen the original scene.
Yes, the original scene could have been a lot better. And then, I'm sorry, but the actor who played Greta just looked ridiculous, just standing up and moving around, acting like she's choking. I'm like, okay, this shit's ridiculous.
And you know what bugged me?
Yeah?
Sorry to interrupt, but you're telling me no one at this party know how to do the Heimlich maneuver? He's up there choking or something, like if she's doing the motions, hey, I think someone should just go up behind her and just give her the Heimlich or something.
Yeah, they were just staring at her.
Yeah.
Huh? Somebody help her.
Give her a glass of water, something, I don't know.
And then, throughout this happening, Alice is pulled into the dream as well. Greta is in the refrigerator trying to reach out to Alice. And then Freddy grabs Greta and then pulls her into the refrigerator. And then it has a little sign on the front of it saying, "Die, bitch." And Freddy likes to call people, like I said, there's a lot of people. He likes to call people bitches a lot. It's funny. And then while Greta's looking fucking retarded, doing her little dance and whatsoever, she just falls on the table. And then the mother's like, Greta! And now they fucking care and they check up on her. So, guys, to me, this scene was fucking stupid. I think this was the most dumbest death scene throughout the series. And then after the death, Alice opens the refrigerator, and the refrigerator's it looks normal again. So, yeah, so we got, we have, the little, I'm sorry, Alice talking to her friends about the Freddy legend, and Greta's completely silly death scene. So, yeah, guys, go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, that death scene was kind of bad. I wish that no one would touch it. Just let this movie go on as it was, because they had to rush this script and everything and rush filming it. So you'd figure they allow them to get away with some stuff, but no, they had to go with this. And it was funny too, because when Alice was going into the refrigerator, she was literally putting away the groceries her father picked up, like, you know, like some healthy stuff, because she was pregnant. So here's her putting away all this healthy stuff, and here comes a bloated-faced Greta coming out, and then Freddy pulling her back in. That, like, it would have been so much better if it would have been the original thing. And then how Freddy's glove had like the spoon. Like, I didn't like that, but like, oh, just the way they did the, like, the plastic, like just the makeup and stuff. It could have been done better. That's all I could say, for lack of better words. It just all could have been done better, and it was originally written better, but they wouldn't allow him to do it. So you have Freddy with this friggin' porcelain doll, where he's getting the guts out of that, feeding it to her. Then he pulls away the tray like almost like a high chair for a kid, and then you see that he was feeding her herself. But, like, you know, it just, to me, like, it could have been done a lot better. Arlo?
Yeah, I don't think any of us really liked that scene, at all. But when she opened the fridge and stuff, and she just popped out of like coming out of nowhere and stuff, I thought that was not like scary, but it was like a nice pop up kind of scary thing that they love to overdo now. But at that time, it was fine. I think that was good. 'Cause I didn't really expect it, and that's the only thing really I can say good about it. I mean, it was like basically she was eating and choking, I guess. It didn't make any sense to me, that scene, and they would tend to agree.
Yeah, and so far in this film, it just seemed like, I mean, normally I would rely on Robert Englund to be able to bring that, you know, that oomph into the movies, because he brings the energy to the films. So far, it just feels like he's just mailing it in this film. I just don't know what it is about Robert Englund in this film, but it just feels like he's just not really giving it his all like he normally does. So at this point in the film, I'm just kind of hoping that changes. So after that completely cartoonish death scene, we Alice and Yvonne, you know, go meet Mark, and then Yvonne, who's like, you know, basically like no selling this idea that a mythical person is killing everybody. And then Mark, you know, basically just freaks out on, like, will you please shut up? And when he said that, I'm like, just don't talk. Please don't talk. Like, I don't like this
Your
character.
lollipop back.
Yeah, like, no, fuck the lollipop. but, you know, but then we also learned that Mark had a crush on Greta, and he actually wants to know about this Freddy character. He basically just chews Yvonne out, and then he apologizes and stuff, and she says, well, she has to go, you know, and she can't stay, she has to leave, and Alice decides to stay with Mark. So then, you know, Mark, you know, he wants to learn more about Freddy, and then she says, you know, well, get yourself some coffee. You know, you look tired, and I will tell you, because, you know, there's a lot to know. And then Alice comes back, and then fucking Mark fell asleep. And then this was kind of cool. You know, she like sees Mark in the drawing that he drew, which was of the Freddy house, and Alice just quickly draws herself, and then she falls asleep. And, you know, she appears in the Freddy house herself. So we're back to this again. So she's searching all over the house. Then she hears Mark going, "Help! Help!" and she saves but she saves fucking Mark. And then when they're about to leave, he sees blood on her wrist and goes, "Oh shit!" And then faints, and he just poofs and he just poofs away. And then she meets the little boy again. And she's like scolding her, saying that you don't care about me. How come you don't care about me? And stuff. And then I'm like, at first I'm like, man, fuck this little kid, man. What the hell is this little kid? I don't like his acting. He came off as a whiny brat to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alice says, well, what do you mean by that? Who told you that? The guy with the glove, with the glove knives and stuff. And then I kind of started putting two and two together here, because I'm like, this ain't who I think it is, right? And then we learn in the next scene, we find out. We do find out that this little kid is her unborn baby. And before she could talk to him, she wakes up. So Alice decides to go to an ultrasound, and she learns that Freddy is feeding, the spirit of her friends to her baby and using his dreams to kill them as well. So I kind of like this aspect here, where she's like, you either kill your baby to protect your friends, or you protect your baby. No. It's like you protect your baby, thus killing your friends, or protect your friends, thus killing your baby. So it's kind of like it's an interesting concept here. Like, it's either either lose your friends or lose your baby. Who is more important to you? So I kind of like this aspect, but as the movie goes on, they don't do much with it. They really don't do much with that concept, which pissed me off because I actually kind of like the concept. And then for the next scene, we get to a scene where Alice and Yvonne get into an argument. She thinks, Yvonne just thinks that Alice is just gone crazy. She still doesn't believe any of this. And then, and they argue and have a big fight. And Mark, who basically, has new information on Freddy, Mark believes her while Yvonne doesn't. So at this point, I was kind of like, okay, I hated this Mark character, but I'm starting to kind of like him a little bit because he's the one who's really taking Alice serious while Yvonne isn't. Yvonne's coming off more as a bitch in this situation. So I was kind of leaning more towards the Mark character than Yvonne. So we got, we now find out Freddy's, new power now. She's feeding off the dreams of her unborn child. And again, I kind of like this concept. Either, protect your baby, thus killing your friends, or I'll kill your friends, or you can protect your friends and I'll kill your baby. So I like this concept. Excuse me. And I also like I'm starting to kind of grow into the Mark character a little bit, but I'm still, skeptical of him. And Yvonne is kind of more of a bitch to me. So, so far this movie, this movie isn't necessarily grabbing me like the first four films did. I like the concept, but I like Lisa Wilcox so far. She's doing the best she can do. I'm not the biggest fan of the supporting characters personally. I think this may be the weakest cast. And so far this feels like Robert Englund just isn't giving it his all like he normally does. So far I watched this movie whatever. Arnold, Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not high on it. The whole getting the other characters involved and stuff. Yeah, they're there, but they're not the strongest characters. And Mark and Yvonne, yeah, they're not good at all. Mark, yeah, like you're saying, he wants to know more and stuff, and they go into the world and stuff, and he finds out and believes her, and Yvonne doesn't. And I'm like, all right, let's see what happens with this, and nothing really does like I expected to. The little boy, I don't know, he just looks weird to me. Like, especially if he's supposed to be their son and stuff. Why does he look like a, like, what would you call it? A homeless child with AIDS.
Come on, man.
Full-blown AIDS, not even HIV.
He looked like a little emo.
Chris will get this reference. He kind of looked like like remember Roach from People Live Under the Stairs?
Yes.
He kind of looked like him a little bit as a little kid.
Yeah.
He did.
With AIDS. Yeah.
With AIDS.
Yeah, but didn't really like the kid. Didn't really like any of the characters. But yeah, it just isn't really doing anything for me. But like the dynamic between you can save your friends or you can save your child, I like that. But I just didn't like having a child aspect in it at all, because I'm pretty sure that's why the NPAA did what they did, because it's the child in the movie.
That is a good point. I never thought of that one. But like my thing is like with the whole aspect of Alice being the dream master and how she's defenseless against her dreams is because Freddy's not using her dreams, he's using the baby's dreams. And when Alice was getting the ultrasound, she talked to the doctor and she asked him, "Do unborn babies dream?" He's like, "Yes, they spend 90% of their day dreaming." Because they're in like a sleep mode, because that's how the babies develop, or like according to the movie. And the whole thing about the supporting cast, I agree with everyone. They were not the greatest actors. Like even this kid, the kid was on Full House. He either played Michelle's friend or Stephanie's friend, one of the two at the time. Like I don't remember which one he played, like whose friend he was, but he was a bad actor on that show too. Like,
yeah, really?
Yes, with all the child actors that they had, Friday the 13th did it right. When they did the final chapter, they got Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
Why couldn't Nightmare on Elm Street get something like that? Get a young Neil Patrick. No, you can't get a young Neil Patrick Harris because he was a teenager. But they could have found somebody, or even changed it from a boy to a female character or something. Like obviously someone that could act. Because this kid's like, "You don't care about me." Like just the way he acted is like, "Come on, kid. I've been disappointed at Christmas." I was like, I put on a better acting job than he did. Like,
they should have cast you in it with your mushroom haircut.
Oh yeah. Oh, I would have fit right in because they would have emoed me up. That's what the kid looked like. He was like a wannabe emo at the time, but like it was just.
Himself.
He does.
At age 8.
I'm not even born yet. My parents don't love me. Oh, okay. She's carrying you in your womb, but she doesn't love you. Okay. Okay, come on, kid. Come on. Like that was ridiculous. Like that whole scene, but like with her being because she's the Dream Master, that's the only way Freddy can really have power over Alice, is taking the dreams from the child. And honestly, they should just hire the Olsen twins to play the kid. Like frig.
Might as well.
Like that kid was such a horrible actor. But like just the way how everything's been going on in the film, you got Mark who wants to know about Freddy because he friggin' cared about Greta. That guy literally loved her, and he wanted to find out what the hell happened to her. Then you got Yvonne. being a complete bitch about it because Alice is going to tell them what happened. She's like, "Well, I don't want this guy." It kind of reminded me of the girl in Part 4. You know the one that got turned into the bug that Freddy
The
squished?
bug.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget her name at the time, but
Debbie. Debbie,
that's
I
it,
think that was her
Debbie.
name.
Yes, it was Debbie. Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of her, like how she was so ignorant to learn the facts, but meanwhile, your friends are dropping off like flies, and yet you think it's all legitimate. You are a nurse, and you want to know how someone choked to death. Meanwhile, they had basically no food in them because Freddie only put 2 spoonfuls in her mouth. And when you saw her as when she died, a coroner reports that she choked, but then when you see her throat or something like that, or whatever, when they do an autopsy, if they would have did an autopsy, you'd see that there was nothing wrong with this person physically. So what the hell happened?
Right.
Like that's the thing that so that's why I like the Mark character where he's like, well, if something friggin' happened, I want to know. So like, if this friggin' guy took away the one thing that I love. And then when Alice, and here's what bugged me about the whole Alice thing, like going into his dream to save him, like when he fell out at the top of the stairs or whatever, like when she had to pull him back up.
Mm-hmm.
He did an amazing drawing in the house, and she grabbed a red marker and drew a stick figure of herself and put Alice with an arrow pointing to herself, and completely ruined his drawing. Like me, if I drew that picture, if she would have ruined that, I would have been pissed right the fuck off. You know how good that drawing was, lady? That's how I would have been like when I woke up. What the hell? I gotta redraw this shit? Okay, give me my stencils. No. But, like for how the movie is going, it's like, there's so much stuff that they could be doing, but it just seems like, just try to fit everything in an hour-and-a-half movie. It's just like they didn't have enough time. But if they would have had the 2-hour format like they do nowadays for movies,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they would have had so much more stuff, like a little bit more, more story structure instead of just trying to so it's like bang, 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 like you know what I mean, like just rushing everything.
Me personally, I think 2 hours is just too long for a horror movie. Personally.
Not if it's a good movie.
Good point. So the next scene, Alice is coming home and she runs into Dan's parents. Now I liked Lisa Wilcox's performance in the scene, where Dan parents, they basically, they kind of, they are also worried about, Alice's mental state, thinking she's going crazy. And I think they first, they don't say, but they kind of, imply maybe she could get an abortion. But then Alice says, no, I'm keeping my baby. And then they also offer to, let us take care of it. We understand how much raising a child could be much for a girl your age. And then Alice says, no, I appreciate the help, but again, he's my responsibility. I'm going to take care of my baby. And then they say, you're gone crazy. You're not fit to be a mother. And then Alice says, no one is going to take my baby away from me. Absolutely nobody. And then they threaten to go to the courts. And then the father, so stands up for her daughter, saying, who do you think you are coming here threatening my daughter and all that stuff. Again, I like the father. I mean, I kind of like to see how his character has gotten better over the 2 films. And basically throws Dan's parents out. So I watched the scene. I like Lisa Wilcox's performance in the film, and I kind of like how the mother was playing in the scene too. I thought that was some pretty decent acting. Again, Lisa Wilcox is not the problem in the movie. She's doing, for what she's given, she's pretty good. And so, then the next scene, Alice basically, she basically falls asleep and she goes to try to find Amanda in the asylum. But yet Yvonne Uh, Basically, she goes for a swim, and then she kind of like, I think she kind of like, did she kind of like nod off in the swimming pool too? I kind of forgot how Freddy got her. Chris?
Oh, he uses the baby's dreams. So no matter if they're awake, he's using the baby's dreams.
Right.
That's how he got Greta, because there's no way she passed it at the dinner table because her mom would have slapped her silly. What are you doing passing out at a dinner party?
That's right. So Freddy got Yvonne hostage, and then like, and Freddy's like fucking with Alice. Alice is like falls onto a wall, and then Freddy goes, "Let's rock and roll," and then have her rolling, and I'm like, fuck, that was weak, Freddy. Come on, rock and roll, come on.
I agree, that was weak.
Yeah.
Last week. No.
And then we get to another pretty silly scene for me. Meanwhile, Mark, standing vigil over Alice, finds a comic book, depicting the movie's events up to that point. He realizes he's fallen asleep and is drawn into a nightmare. So after a cat and mouse, Freddy, like, it's like in black and white, Freddy, it's basically in the look of a comic book. Now, the look seems fine, but how it's executed is so fucking silly. You got Freddy on a skateboard. Charging towards Mark. But then Mark's love for Greta helps him unlock his dream power, so kind of bringing like a Dream Warrior aspect into it, where he's the Phantom Prowler. And then he goes like, "Say goodnight, you scarred limp dick," and fucking like unloads his guns on Freddy. And then Freddy fucking turned into Super Freddy. And I'm like, oh god. Super Freddy? Really? He's gonna call himself Super Freddy now? And he says, like, faster than a bastard maniac or something like that. I don't fucking know what he was saying.
Yeah, it was basically like the Superman thing, but he changed it all to make it like Freddy aspect. So yeah, he was like faster than a bastard or something like that. It was something like that.
And then Freddy's saying this stuff. I'm like, and they got some of the most goofiest music playing in the background, like some superhero comic book shit. And I'm like, oh god, this is so fucking stupid. And then he turns Mark, turning him into a paper doll version of himself. And he's like, "What did I tell ya? Comic books are not, they ain't good for ya." And he's basically just shredding him apart and shit. And Mark, looked ridiculous as his comic book self. And they got Freddy looking ridiculous. And the dream sequences in these movies suck. They suck in this movie. 1, they were fun. 2, they were, intense. 3, it was fun. 4, it was fun. This, it's like, it's whatever. And I was kind of starting to like the Mark character a little bit. Like, he was kind of growing on me a little bit, and then once I'm like, okay, he's actually pretty good. He dies. I'm like, fuck this. Alright, so we got Alice, talking to Dan's parents about the baby, and then we got, Yvonne being held hostage by Freddy, and another silly death scene, with the Mark character. So far I'm like, I'm starting to say fuck this movie. Like, this is not intriguing me at all. Arlo and Chris, maybe you guys feel differently. Just give your thoughts.
Well, with me, with the whole thing with Dan's parents coming in and talking to Alice about taking custody over the child, to to me, that's something that like they lost their child. Like that is something that no parent should ever go through. So I can see them wanting to get their grandchild because that's a part of Dan. They don't have Dan anymore, so that's the only way to to basically have their son back is to have his child and raise them and basically they wanted to say to Alice like, hey, like you're a little young, I've already raised a child, so like basically like that. Like I can see that point of view, and I love how Alice's dad stood up for her and kicked them out. It's like, you ain't taking this kid. It's like, I lost my son too. Like you don't think like you're not the only person that's lost something here over this Kruger shit, but he never ever really would come out like that because the parents, as we all know through these, except for the Heather Langenkamp's parents, like in the first movie, no parents know anything about Freddy Krueger besides Nancy's original parents. And I mean original parents, her actual parents in the movies. But like that, like I can see like that whole thing, like I can understand that, like just watching the movie and everything like that, because understandable, like I like losing a child is just tough, so I can understand that 100%. And like the thing with Mark, I really liked how that was because I'm a comic book guy. Like I love how the drawings look, like like when he's looking through the drawings and then he gets sucked in the comic basically and becomes a Phantom Prowler and stuff like that. Like that was a little cheesy. He kind of, for a lack of better terms, he like willed out on it. Like he became the Wizard Master, got an upper hand, and then Freddy just threw it right in your face. But the thing is, with the dream roll and stuff like that, there was no way that Mark could take down Freddy. So that's why Freddy was like no matter what you do to Freddy in the dream world, you have to really do some damage to that guy to really affect him. So you using comic book guns and stuff like that isn't going to do nothing to this guy. It's almost like the Wizard Master shooting him and Freddy playing possum, waiting until the kid comes up to him, grabs him by the throat, stabs him, tells him, "Sorry, kid, I don't believe in fairy tales." Like the whole thing with Mark, it's like, yeah, they were fishing for like one-liners kind of, and it's a different aspect of how the movie is going compared to all the other ones, because you got the whole baby developing, like that's where the dreams are coming from. So like no one's really safe. It's kind of reminds me of like a Nightmare on Elm Street 2, where how Freddy can come into the real world and how he did that with like through Jesse. So like basically like at that point it's like it didn't matter if you're awake or not, like you're just not safe.
Yeah, and it's kind of I'm looking at the scene right now. It looked like a low budget rip-off RoboCop too.
Don't forget it was 1989, and they probably blew their budget on Nightmare 4. No, I'm just
Makes sense.
they really rushed this movie. They would have waited at least another year, like how they normally do. They would have had a better script, and they would have had a lot better things. Like you said earlier, James, I agree with you. Lisa Wilcox, she acted the shit out of that role that she was given.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very believable, like especially like her defending her right to raise her own child.
Yes, I enjoyed that scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's Arlo.
Oh yeah, the scene where they wanted to take the baby and stuff, that was cool. The dad being basically up. Yeah, that's pretty cool. The dad actually having some balls and sticking up for his kid, unlike the last movie.
Right.
Complete opposite. The comic book guy dying, Mark. And yeah, like everybody was saying, like they were just picking off victims at this point, one by one after friends and stuff. And I think everybody knew that he didn't have a chance, especially when he started shooting him with the guns. Like, alright, he's just gonna start like no selling them, and he's gonna kill them, because that's what he does. He lets them get like their shots in, and then when they're done, he's like, let me just finish this right quick. And that's exactly what he did. And then when he It was like a doll of Greta, right? That was up next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool part. It's like basically shattering his dreams. Get it? Because he pushed it off and shattered.
Yeah. I got it.
Uh,
Good job.
uh, yeah.
Good job, Goldust.
What?
Nothing. Continue.
I don't know what that means, but yeah. So, um, that part was alright. It wasn't
I mean, did it seem just silly to you though, Arlo?
silly.
Yeah.
A little bit, but what do you expect when a guy is trying to kill somebody in his dreams and he's a comic book fan and just trying? I don't know. It didn't seem that silly to me.
Well, instead of being the Phantom Prowler, if I'm going to become a comic book guy, I'm going to be Superman, a guy that you can't stab.
Like, instead of what he did, like, let me become the most beast character I can.
Yeah. I'll become the Punisher, a guy that just has a gun.
Even like Thor or something you could become. Be good.
I mean, Chris says no. Personally, I think that the Wizard Master probably had the power to kill Freddy personally, but Chris thinks Freddy was just playing awesome. But me and Chris agreed that him running to Freddy was just fucking stupid. Like, why do you want to run towards somebody that's trying to kill you?
Exactly.
But
And he didn't even know like a trapping spell or anything. Like, come on.
no, he just like
I know.
he's like, demon be gone, and then like like what the fuck, Will? Come on.
Wait, who said demon be gone?
That's what he said.
Yeah, in the name of Lord, Prince of Elves, demon be gone. It was a thing from his that board game they were playing earlier in the
board game he was playing.
Mark here, and I got this new product. It's Demon Be Gone, and while supplies last, call right now and you can get your second Demon Be Gone absolutely free. Just pay shipping and handling.
Oh man. So
And you know what's funny too? They had the invention of Hypnosil back in Nightmare 3. How come no one was taking it after that?
yeah, I think they said that in Freddy vs. Jason. I think they said they only kept that in Weston Hills.
Yes.
They only kept it there because they don't want to give it to the public because they don't want to talk about Freddy anymore in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So after saving Yvonne from Freddy and discovering Mark's fate, Alice pleads with Yvonne to find Amanda at the old asylum while she goes to sleep to search for Freddy and her son. I'm kind of like I kind of would rather prefer if Mark lived and Yvonne died, because again I just kind of got like a bitch factor when it came to Yvonne, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So she searches for Freddy, like you saying, like like I'm too strong for you, Freddy, but you go after my child and stuff. And I was kind of want to say this too. So far in this movie, I understand, she's haunting the kids' dreams, Freddy. But especially in this third act here, what the fuck happened to Alice's powers? And we'll get to that. We'll get to that. In the third act here. So while she's searching for Freddy, basically talking shit and whatsoever, Yvonne looks for basically looking for Amanda. And then, Alice eventually catches up to Freddy, and then this is kind of stupid here. Yeah, so Freddy is kind of searching for Alice as well, and then Freddy, he sees the room where the 100 maniacs are. And then Freddy he's looking like kind of nervous and whatsoever. So I'm kind of like, what the fuck? Now they're turning Freddy into a pussy now. Again, and I was telling, I don't know if you was here, but I was telling Chris here, this movie came out in 1989. You know what else came out in 1989, Arlo? Halloween 5 and Jason Takes Manhattan. And what happened in both those movies? They made the killers look like complete pussies.
Mm-hmm.
Great movies.
Fuck that. Michael Myers crying. Jason calling out for his mommy before he dies. Now Freddy, though, in Dream World, is scared of 100 maniacs. So I'm like, fuck. So, Freddy, who's nervous to go near the room, Alice, Alice, who basically finds did she kill him like a baby carriage or something? Chris? It was like a baby carriage, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just like a weird black baby carriage, it almost looked like something that Batman would have for a Bat baby or something.
Yeah. So even though Alice is the Dream Master, if you watch Part 4, she completely kicks Freddy's ass. Alice decides to basically to cheap shot Freddy, runs up from behind him, and stabs him with the baby carriage. So I'm kind of like, well, you're the fucking Dream Master. Why are you sneaking up on Freddy? So Freddy, he falls, he's into the room with the 100 maniacs. And then Freddy actually looking terrified. Which I'm like, fuck this! Like, I'm so sick. Once I realized this movie came out in 1989, I realized, I was like, man, fuck 1989. Made our horror movies look like complete pussies. He wakes up, he's like completely terrified. He's screaming, no! 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 And the 100 maniacs are basically just, tearing him apart. They rip his arm off and stuff. And I'm like, if Freddy dies like this, then fuck this movie. I'm already at this point, but once again, they make Freddy look like a pussy.
Just terrible fathers they are. Well, the whole thing, too, about the room was, at the first room, wasn't that where Amanda was trapped in to begin with? That's why he was terrified of it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But my thing was, they're in Freddy, it's Freddy's in the dream world. He should have power over all of them.
That is true, because he can manipulate wherever the hell you are.
Yeah, so the fact that he's in the dream world, but he's actually scared of 100 maniacs, I'm like, come on. And right, yeah, and they're all his father. Yes. Wow.
Imagine how bad it must be for Father's Day writing Father's Day cards to 100 maniacs. You'll get cramps.
Yes. So after Freddy went out like a complete bitch, which he did, I'm like, great. Freddy, screaming for help is how he dies. He's being torn apart, and Alice is saying, "Good night, asshole." And then I'm like, Lisa Wilcox, again, I keep saying this, you're the fucking Dream Master! You didn't do anything, though! But then, like, a rat, appears on her shoulder. She's freaked out about it. I don't blame her. Rats are fucking creepy.
Spider.
What?
Spider.
It was a spider. Okay, a spider. I'm sorry. Well, they're fucking creepy, too. And then we get to a complete shitty chase scene here, where Freddy actually survived, the attack, and that he has Jacob, But then, Jacob eventually runs away, trying to run for. And I was so lost. This chase scene was so fucking confusing. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like it was all inverted and sideways and shit, and upside down, and I was having vertigo watching it.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris.
It's kind of like they stole David Bowie's Labyrinth.
Yeah, like they stole that. And Freddy's trying to catch the kid, but he can't. He even poses as Dan. That doesn't work. And I'm like, Alice, why not just go to Freddy and just beat the fuck out of him like you did in the fourth film? Why can't you just do that?
That's a very good point. I never thought of that one. But
Right.
You know what's smart about Alice, though? When she said, Jacob, get away from him, that's not your father, she didn't fall for the Nancy trap when Nancy got killed by Freddy posing as her dad.
Oh, God, I forgot. Great point, because I hated that's how they killed Nancy off.
But it's kind of good for Alice to not fall for that trick.
Right, she didn't fall for it.
Yeah.
But my thing, Chris, was that, you ran up to Freddy in the fourth film, completely beat the fuck out of him.
Yes.
Why are you not doing that here? So, they're not giving her anything to do. Except just tell Jacob to run this way, run that way, and I'm gonna run over here away from Freddy. Like a shitty-ass 1980 video game. So,
Exactly. Good point.
yes. So, no, she catches up to Jacob, and then, she realized that Freddy has been hiding inside of her since his original defeat. So he's been inside her this whole time. So I'm like, I don't know what the fuck happened next. Okay, so I'm sitting here like, Freddy has been inside of Alice. So he's been possessing Alice, or he... And then how did fucking Alice, she just pulled Freddy out? Like that scene was so fucking weird when she was pulling Freddy out. I don't know what the fuck happened there. And I'm like, so Freddy's been inside of Alice. Last time I heard of that was in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 when he was inside of Jesse. Although, don't say anything. But, that was just weird to me. I did not get that at all. I had no clue what they were trying to say. So she draws Freddy out, but the attack severely weakens her, which again I can kinda understand, but at the same time, again, I keep saying, Alice, you're the fucking Dream Master. So yeah, this final conclusion is really lackluster to me, and it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. And Freddy looking like a bitch with the 100 Maniacs was a slap in my face. Fuck them for that. But again, so Arlo, we got to talk about that scene, and plus, Yvonne looking for Amanda, which I had no interest of. Alice not doing anything. She's not doing anything in her fight against Freddy. And that complete, out of nowhere, Freddy's been inside of her. So, again, I don't know if Freddy's been possessing Alice, or I don't know, but it's dumb. It's dumb. Dumb. So, Arlo, Chris, are your thoughts?
Well, the whole thing with Freddy being inside her the whole time, it kind of reminds me at the end of Part 4 when Dan gave her Dan tossed the coin in the wishing well, or the fountain, and she made a wish.
Freddy's reflection.
Yes, that's how I think. Because he was always a part of her because she kept still thinking of him. It's kind of like the whole fear aspect from the first and second movie where Freddy grew strength from their fears.
Great point. Great point.
But again, like I'm a huge Freddy nerd, so like I think that's like where trying to look on the bright side of the movie. So that's where I think that came in, because like even at the end of the movie after defeating him, Freddy was still on her mind. Even though she was with Dan, it was a bright sunny day, she still thought of Fred Krueger. And then the whole thing with the Yvonne thing, I agree. She just wasn't that good of an actress. Mark should have stayed alive, and he should have been the one searching for her. Because Mark would have, he would not rest until he found Amanda Krueger, if it meant to him taking down the guy that killed the woman that he loved. The classic, 'cause since he's the comic book guy, that's how a superhero would be. If I can rectify this loss that happened to me, as like how superheroes think, well, I'm going to do it, because he's not really killing anybody, because that's some superheroes won't cross that line, but since he's looking for a method to end the madness, like that Freddy's bringing, he would have been all on board. He's like, where do I have to go? What do I have to do? And consider it done. That's what he would have been like. And the whole Yvonne search for Amanda was kind of lackluster. I have no better words to describe that. It felt short, but the whole labyrinth thing, it was like, that was kind of weird. It's like, wait, did David Bowie fly in and steal a kid again? That's what it reminded me of, kind of. And I didn't realize a lot of the plot holes until we're actually dissecting this movie, and it kind of glass shattered, but still, it's for how they rushed it and everything. It's still got a better ending than Jason Takes Manhattan and Halloween 5. I will give Nightmare on Elm Street 5 that. It did have a little bit more better, but it was a little bit better done, more well done, but it's just I just didn't like the actor for Yvonne. They should have just got the girl that played Lisa Turtle to play her from Saved by the Bell. She's a way better actress. And yeah, the whole search for Amanda, it serves a point, because they need Amanda to help defeat Freddy. But the whole thing of how he stayed dormant in Alice, that's what I really think it happened. She was always afraid of Freddy. That's how he is still a part of her all this time. Arlo?
Arlo, are you there? Okay, probably have to step away. We'll get his thoughts if he's able to come back.
Well, Vaughn probably put him to sleep. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't blame him, man. Fucking almost put me to sleep as well.
Yeah, we're at the part where Alice is, she's really weak from after the battle with Freddy.
Oh, yeah. That alone I thought was bullshit. But,
it did look cool, though, the way they did, the makeup and stuff like that, trying to, the two people, splitting apart from each other and stuff like that. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was, but I still thought that was kind of weird to me. So Yvonne finds Amanda's remains and frees her from her earthly prison. Which, again, I kind of thought that was confusing. Okay, she's been in an earthly prison all this time. But I'm sitting here she's been in an earthly prison. But she was all over the fucking place in part 3 talking to the doctor about Freddy.
And she had a legitimate grave in part 3, so I thought she was actually laid to rest in part 3, with a proper burial, how she said to defeat Freddy.
Right, she was actually, so this earthly prison, that doesn't make sense, because she was all over the fucking place in 3, and she had a grave.
Mm-hmm.
So you can clearly tell that was a rushed idea.
I don't think whoever did the script for part 5 watched part 3.
I don't think they did. So, after Amanda is freed, she appears and informs Jacob to use Freddy's own power against him to save Alice. And And then all of a sudden this little kid like has like the Freddy makeup, and then like, hey Krueger, don't use her. She's not fun anymore. Use me instead. I want to use the tricks that you gave me. He was talking in that Freddy voice, and I'm like, fuck this little kid. And
I wonder if that kid was Christian Bale because he almost did a good Batman imitation.
oh god.
I'm just kidding.
Oh god, yeah, Christian Bale, the Batman voice. But
Freddy, leave her alone. Use me instead.
Yeah, drop the gun. Let her go. Like, oh, fuck.
Swear to me.
Where is he? Where's the trigger? So he said no. She says no. Like, use the power that he's given you. And then Freddy sees his mom, and then Freddy just like, what? They got Freddy looking like a pussy. After he realizes that, he sees his mom and sees the little kid, he has a complete terrified look on his face. I'm like, why are you so fucking scared all of a sudden now?
And you know what bugs me too about that whole thing? Remember part 3 when he was in every single mirror? He couldn't split himself up to be in different places at once, like in that?
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have took Amanda, like another Freddy just pop up behind her and stab her or something.
Could have. She really could have. But I guess he was so terrified. I mean, like, terrified when you see your mom when you're doing bad stuff. Okay, maybe, but fuck, like making him Freddy look like a pussy again.
Yeah, but
and
I don't.
How Freddy dies is ridiculous.
It is, and I don't understand too why he'd be afraid of her, because he kept calling her bitch. He'd always talk back to her and stuff like that. Obviously, he would have been the kid that would have been like rude to his mother growing up.
Maybe, but the little kid goes, "School's out, Krueger," and I shit you not, ladies and gentlemen, he pukes on Freddy. He pukes on Freddy.
Man, that's what the cast felt about the script. They just wanted to puke on it.
Yeah, I would have puked on it too. And then causing the spirits of Dan, Greta, and Mark to literally rip Freddy's baby form out of him, thus making Jacob return to his infant form. And Alice is absorbed into Alice, while Freddy is absorbed into Amanda. And as she leaves, Freddy tries to break himself free of Amanda, but he's like, oh, let me out, oh, let me out, I'm like, fuck this movie, fuck. Now, again, I just watched, they made Freddy. Again, like I said, 1989 was a horrible year for horror icons. Horrible year. And while he's screaming, oh, let me out, Amanda closes the doors on him, sealing him away for good. And then, months later, Alice is with Yvonne and her father, playing with the baby, who is now named Jacob Daniel, who is now sleeping peacefully. And then Alice says, sweet dreams, Jacob Daniel. And everything appears, to be back to normal. But again, we meet those creepy-ass little girls, doing the Freddy's rhyme. And then, you know what that means when I saw that? Sequel! So, then we get end credits and we see a shitty-ass rap as the ending song. And there's Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 5, The Dream Child. Now, my overall thoughts, I thought this movie was a major disappointment from Part 4. This movie just did not have the energy that Part 4 had, did not have the imagination or the inventiveness that Part 4 had, or any of the other movies previous to this. This is Robert Englund's weakest portrayal of Freddy. His weakest portrayal. It seems like he's mailing it in a lot of the times, and the script, maybe he had some improv one line. Robert Englund was just not on his game in this film as he normally is. But a part of me thinks that he was probably a little tired because if I remember correctly, 1988, I think he did Phantom of the Opera around that same time, and he was directing a couple of movies around that time, and then he had to come back to be Freddy in a short amount of time. So maybe he was just a little, maybe his energy was probably a little low in this film than it normally is. I would like to say that. But Robert Englund was just not on his game. I thought Lisa Wilcox was fine as Alice, that they gave her nothing to do. Compared to part 4, they gave her a shitload to do, but in this, she does nothing, really. She really does nothing. Acting-wise, she's fine, but she just does nothing. The supporting cast was shit. This may be the worst supporting cast of the Nightmare movies. The makeup of Freddy was shit, and if the remake didn't exist, I would say this is the worst Nightmare on Elm Street film of the franchise. Just a major disappointment from Part 4. Major disappointment. And out of 10, I'm gonna give this movie on my Bret Hart shit 4 out of 10.
Oh wow, that low.
Yeah, 4 out of 10 for me. Just a bad Nightmare on Elm Street film. Again, it tries to be dark. I'll give it that, but Freddy ruins it. Freddy ruins it with his shitty lines of dialogue. Time to rock and roll.
Yeah, that's kind of weak.
Yeah. And this was a weak movie. So Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, Dream Child, 4 out of 10 for me. Shitty movie. Chris and Arlo, if you're still around, give your final thoughts on the final scenes and overall thoughts.
Well, with me, the final scenes, like the whole thing with everyone turning back into babies was kind of odd. But, it was going to happen because it is the dream child and stuff like that. Freddy gets sucked into Amanda, so obviously if he was reborn through her at the beginning of the movie, obviously he can come back, so of course it's going to scream sequel. But the crazy thing is, once they, when they did the whole door closing and the doors exploding, that took a lot of work for them to do in CGI because that was all sugar glass that they did to make those doors and everything to explode. So that was they really had to do that in one shot. So that was kind of cool that they were able to do that. And just looking up even just some stuff on the movie, while everyone was talking, Robert Englund was quoted saying once I got into this film, it has really showed me something. He noted. This film was the equivalent to walking down the street, looking at your feet, looking through your legs, and seeing yourself follow you. It could what does that even mean? He's even making a quote, he's quoted talking about the movie, and even his quote makes no sense about it, basically. And I agree with James. He was probably burnt out. He was doing a lot of things right there, and he did his directorial debut that year. He was in Phantom of the Opera. The guy was probably just burnt the hell out. Can you blame the guy? He was just doing Nightmare on Elm Street 4, when that movie finished, in April, in July of 1988, to be back in the saddle, so to speak, pun intended for Will. In April in 1989, he's back in the chair. He's back in the saddle again, and it a lot of things seem like people were just there for a paycheck. Lisa Wilcox, she did the best she could. Yeah, she did the best she could. With the script that she was given and the parts, like you said, throughout this review, she was very weak. It was basically I hate to bring up wrestling, but it's kind of like someone to face John Cena. You're gonna be so powerful until you face John Cena, and then you're completely done.
Yeah.
But for how strong her character was, it's funny too that Alice is the only character to now survive 2 full-length movies and defeat Freddy twice. But do you give the assist to Amanda Kruger? I don't know, but I agree. With the end of the movie, seeing those kids with the jump rope and the white dresses and stuff, that is kind of freaky. But this movie, for how they rushed everything, when you bring up Jason Takes Manhattan, Halloween 5, to me this movie's better than better than those ones. So I'm going to be on. I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. It gets 50%. It gets a passing grade in Canada, as we say, because I know in the States it's 60% for you guys, right? Like at school,
Yes.
60% is a passing grade. Well, in Canada, we allow us to slack off a little bit, so we say 50 is a pass.
Nice.
But like for just what they could have done, if the people would just stay out of it, allow the original deaths to go into it, this movie could have had a lot of stuff in there that could have made this movie like passable to put it up to like maybe a 6 or a 7 almost. But
Yes,
in my opinion, when
sorry
you
to cut you off, Chris, but
Yeah.
yes, I totally agree because again, this could have been a good film. I mean, because it has a good concept with the Dream Child, but
Mhm.
they don't go further with it. They really don't. Like it's mentioned like in a couple of scenes, and that's it. And it also, and the reason I kind of give it a 4 out of 10, they didn't kill Lisa Wilcox's character.
And the thing too, like when you have such huge successes with number 3 and number 4, it's kind of like the Batman trilogy where you get Batman Begins, then you get The Dark Knight. Dark Knight blew them all away, and then you get the Dark Knight Rises, where it's like, okay, this movie is shit compared to the other one, like compared to the last one. The bar was set so high with how good number 3 and 4 were that expectations were just through the roof, and yet it like you're left a little bit disappointed with it. Like I know I was, but just being able to see it in the theaters at the time, that I was really happy with it. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Arlo, what did you think of the movie?
Oh yeah, I'm having some technical difficulties.
Arlo, before you give your overall thoughts, give us
The
your
last
thoughts
couple
on...
scenes.
Yeah.
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 I think I just missed like the last scene where basically it was like the final chase scene and all that stuff. Him getting pushed into like the basement thing where a bunch of those basically his father, I guess, all his fathers he got pushed into. Like, are you my dad? No. Are you my dad? No. That would have been a little awkward. I mean, no. Like, look at the bright side. You get 100 birthday gifts. Come on. Who wouldn't want 100 birthday gifts?
Imagine Maury Povich. You are the father. You are the father. You are the father.
And then, like, one of them is like, you are not, and then, like, what's it called? Freddy's mom, like, gets so mad, like, she starts running away. Like, you know how they do, like, the whole, like, chase scene?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, they all, like, run away and stuff. They don't go anywhere, they just, like, run around. And then, like, they fall down. That probably would happen. But, I like how they did, like, spun it back to that. That was pretty cool. Yeah. What else?
Freddy's Alice becoming Freddy being a part of Alice and Alice death.
Oh yeah. That was weird, and the whole kid thing. I'm like, what the fuck is going on with that? That was so weird. Like, I don't know what happened. That was really weird. He just like grew something out of him and like came at Freddy. I don't know. That was really weird. I didn't like that. That was not good. The whole his mother being like, what was she, like, locked or something, or frozen?
Yeah, apparently she's been in a prison, this whole time. When I was telling Chris that that's bullshit because she's been in a prison this whole time, but she was all over the place in part 3.
Yeah.
She was even at the cemetery.
Yes.
Yeah. That doesn't make sense, but hey, they gotta make a movie, and they don't have to proofread it. That's basically, you do whatever you want to do with that. And yeah, Freddy dies with a little kid attacking him with his insides. Yeah.
What did you did you think the booking of Alice and I thought that was incredibly weak compared to how she was in part 4?
Co- I mean, they were really making her to look a certain way because it was her child that had all the power. Especially like Chris was saying, like it came in through the kid's dream, not in Alice's. So Alice really had a lot of power, but only through her dream, and the kid only had power through his dream. So whoever's dream it was had the infinite power, and yeah, she didn't have any. It wasn't her dream.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And was Freddy made to look like a pussy a lot of the time?
I don't think so. I mean, just at the end. I mean, but he always looks like that because he always dies at the end and comes back. Um, yeah, and in the end, the park and stuff that was fine, and then like the whole humming and stuff, like yeah, Freddy's coming back. Like yeah, motherfuckers, we're gonna make another movie. We're gonna take some more money out your pockets, and we're gonna make another one. Um, that's basically what it was telling me. But overall, this film, I don't know. Well, I forgot what I gave the last one. I give that 6 out of 10. This wasn't anywhere close to that. So 3.5 out of 10 for this one. It wasn't very good. Entertaining at parts, but just overall wasn't that.
What did you think of Robert
Anywhere
Englund's?
close.
What did you think of Robert Englund's portrayal?
Yeah, they didn't. His character in all the other movies was built up a lot better than this one. Not like you were talking about earlier, not as many good one-liners. And unlike the other movies where, like, along with the one-liners, he was like very demonstrative and a lot of blood and just stab and all that kind of stuff. This one was more hokey, I would call it. It was more, I wouldn't say kid-friendly, but kid-friendly because it,
Yeah, that's in the next movie.
yeah. Yeah, but this seemed as intimidating. I mean, none of them do really, but this one started a downhill slope.
Well, yeah, like I said in the last review, Part 4 was Nightmare on Elm Street at its absolute peak, but at the same time it was its downfall. Basically the NWO of the movie series. But yeah, there's our review, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a pleasure having Chris on. Next week we're going to be reviewing Nightmare on Elm Street. Well, it's not called Nightmare. It's called Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. To give my quick synopsis on the review, a lot of people hate it, saying it's way too cartoony and silly, but for me, last time I watched it, I kind of had a little bit of fun with it. Yes, it's silly. Yes, it's cartoony at times, but I kind of had fun with it. Yeah, we'll be reviewing that next week. So Arlo and Chris, go ahead and plug in your stuff.
All right, well, you can follow me, Classic Chris 905 on Twitter, also my YouTube channel, Classic Chris, and don't forget to check out Crossfire Wrestling for all my wrestling commentary, live commentary, like I'm the heel, so I tend to have fun. But one more thing about Freddy and Nightmare on Elm Street 5.
Okay.
You know what I'm really shocked about?
What's that?
Rick's dead, Dan's dead. Wouldn't you name your kid Daniel Richard or Richard Daniel instead of Jacob? I don't know. That's just me.
Where did Jacob come from?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It just popped to me like when Arlo was talking. I was like, oh shit. At least Daniel Richard, because at least if they would have called the kid Daniel, you wouldn't have picked it up right away. Or like Richard, like the long forms of the names instead of Dan and Rick.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only thing. I was just like shocked. Like, yeah, who the fuck is Jacob?
Maybe she's fucking somebody else. I don't know.
There's 100 guys down there. You don't know.
So.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Plug in yourself, Arlo.
I don't know. James, can you plug it for me? I forgot my stuff.
Clean silverware.
On what? I don't even know.
Okay, all right. And you can follow
Plus
me.
every platform.
At
Except
Daytime.
Grindr. I'm not on Grindr.
Oh, bro, come on now. But JTims 101193 on Twitter, and my King JT channel. Also follow me at my James Timms channel, THAMES, where I will put the playlist of the Nightmare on Elm Street films and the Terminator films on my old channel. I'll keep them here, but I'll put them on my old channel as well on my playlist. Yeah, and of course, follow Chris. Of course, the rest of the Blitz team: MG, Adam, Arlo, of course, Bruce at BlitzSportsNetwork.com. Ever since SummerSlam, dude's been on his game with the content lately. Been really the website's at a really good place right now. Of course, next Monday, Blitz team live commentaries. What was you gonna say?
Oh, Nick.
FF Nick with the 5. Justin, and like I said, everybody on the Blitz team. Mark at go ahead and say his name. What's his profile, Arlo?
I have no idea.
Damn, you normally like saying what his profile name is. What was you gonna say, Chris?
I was about to say, and don't forget you can follow Billy at BlitzSportsNetwork.com.
Yeah, that's the only place you can find Billy, and Quez too, because you only see him on there too.
You could probably find Billy though, like if you really wanted to, and stalk him in real life. But
you can kind of find him. Wait, no, that wouldn't work.
you can find Bruce in Chicago somewhere if you really want to stalk all these people. Go for it.
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Unlike CM Punk, if Bruce catches you right in through his garbage, he might punch you.
Yeah, he probably could. But yeah, hope you guys had a great time with this review. I sure did, and Chris, I'm pretty sure Chris and Arlo did as well. We'll see you guys next week for Freddy's Dead, and hope everybody has a great weekend, and see you guys next week. Why I keep saying Friday Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5.
Get it right. Come on, James.
Well, I got it right. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, like the title says, major disappointment. Hopefully Part 6 we get some sort of an upgrade, which I don't think I will. So, good night, everybody. We are out. Peace.